Hey, thanks for joining us. You are listening to Youth Unhinged by Yuvan and Karan. When Fanatic Jen hit us in the face, we both sat down and decided to talk about it. If you happen to be around our age or seem confused on what is going on in the minds of us millennials, cheer up, you have come to the right place.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Youth Unhinged with Karan and Yuvan. Today, we are going to talk about something very interesting. But first, Yuvan, how are you? It's been a while since I've seen you last.
Yeah, we have been recording quite not very frequently nowadays. Yeah, mainly I
Yeah,
was done with exams and now having holiday, so everything is quite fine and I'm having a lot of time in my hands.
great, great. Looking forward to this conversation today. So, today we're going to talk about music. So, before that, how have you managed your time so far? Did you have anything that you use for stress release? Do you listen to music? Okay, I know you're a big Blackpink fan. Apart from that,
I think generally to relieve my stress, I just play games or just go out and eat some good food.
right, interesting. So, are you open to a new avenue to release your stress?
Enlighten me.
Okay, well, I play the guitar, and so I've been playing the guitar for more than 8 years, 8 9 years already, and so I don't have any formal background when it comes to learning the guitar, but I think learning the guitar now is one of the easiest instruments that you can learn, especially if you have an interest in the nice crisp sound of the strings, and people like Sung Ha Jung. If you've heard of him, have you heard of Sung Ha Jung before?
No.
No, you haven't. All right, okay. Sung Ha Jung is a very popular fingerstyle guitarist, and so what he does is essentially he plays popular songs that are in the on the billboards at any point in time, and he makes covers of them. The thing is, the vocal and the music are both played on the guitar. So instead of having just chords, background music that sort of requires a person to sing, you instead have the background music and also the vocals of a person sort of being translated as best as possible on the guitar. So that includes chords and also individual notes that make up the lyrics of the song. And so that's the closest representation that you can get of the power of a particular song being played on a guitar. So you can have the same thing on instruments like the piano, the violin. And so in those instruments, or when you don't really know what to call them, you generally would put up the name of the song you're looking for. Let's say My Heart Will Go On, and then the word that typically follows after that will be instrumental. So you have you ever done that before in your YouTube search?
Actually, I need to be honest. I'm a person that don't really have much interest in music. So when Karan suggested me this topic, I was much more interested in how Karan picked up this hobby than more to actually research about it. And also to the listeners, if you don't know already, the intro music and the outro music was made by Karan himself. So if you really like it, the man behind it is our Karan. So Karan, I would like to ask, how did you start with this hobby? Like, how do you think the guitar was the choice for you to release your stress and pick up as your hobby?
Well, first of all, you can't have a drum. A drum is way too noisy, and well, you can't have a piano. A piano is way too expensive. That I mean, if those options can be considered, I think, but for the normal person who's got other things to do, I read a lot. At that time I was very active in football and lots of other things. I just didn't have, and also I was very far away from the city at that point in time when I started picking up the guitar. So getting formal classes was in fact a challenge. So all things considered, the obvious choice would be guitar. And so even I remember having a conversation with you also. I remember you saying that you also wanted to pick up a guitar. So I imagine it's quite a common instrument, right, to have around here.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about acoustic guitar just makes me feel very relaxed when it comes to musical instrument. Especially like what you said, when you compare with piano, drums, and what else. Even electric guitar, I thought about it, but then I think that something that will suit me will be acoustic guitar instead.
Exactly. The next most viable option is actually an electrical guitar, and so Yeah, so right, so that was exactly the the next instrument that came to my mind as soon as you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Yeah, what about electric guitar? What is your opinion on it in general? Are you a fan? Like, do you like any particular tunes being played on the electrical guitar? Obviously, you've made your preference known. You're the acoustic guy, and so am I, because I don't have an electrical guitar. But do you have any soundtracks that you like?
I mean, not in particular. I think I need to give you guys some background story here. If you guys don't know already, I'm a person that people normally call as tone deaf, which means that even if I try to sing or perform anything related to music, it sounds like I'm just
Cut your
reading.
ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All
in
right.
Korean, they call it as which literally means tone deaf, right? So
Okay.
since I got to know about it, I totally left that choice. So I didn't even bother thinking about learning it also. Even during our high school times also, Karan actually persuaded me, like I'll say twice or thrice. We even made plans to learn acoustic from him after our exams. But we just
COVID
can't make
struck.
it. Yeah. COVID come and ruin it all as usual.
It ruined a lot of things, didn't it? we
Yes.
had a whole vacation planned,
Mm-hmm.
and my goodness, yeah, none of it came to pass. So unfortunate. But yeah, so you're saying you are what, tone
Tone
deaf, right?
deaf.
That's
Yeah.
that's that yeah, tone deaf is the word that is the term that you use. So okay, I know one thing. By the time you come back, I'm gonna make sure either I buy earplugs or make sure that your mouth is shut whenever I put on a song. It's probably I can't tolerate tone deaf people. I mean, especially when they sing, like they are the main the main characters of the song. The main vocal. They'll sing their lungs out. I mean, someone please shut them up. but yeah, I mean, you're the kind of person who wouldn't open your mouth in the first place. I mean, you come across as the person who prefers to listen rather than
Yeah,
singing.
that's true. So
Do I have that right?
no, yeah, I mean it's actually right. I really love to listen to people playing music instead of me being there
Mm-hmm.
and playing it.
Right. But do you find yourself singing along to any song when you happen to hear one that happens to be your favorite, for example?
Blackpink.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So you do it. Okay. But at least, but I doubt you sing your lungs out. So
Actually, no.
yeah, I've heard you
If
sing myself actually. When back in class, even when the sky is falling down.
yeah, that song as well. And even when
Yeah.
me and my roommate are alone in the room, we'll just make it like a freaking karaoke room. Both of us will be singing our lungs out. But both of us
Oh
will be
really? Oh
listening to
wow.
different songs also. So it's like two
Oh
party on each side.
right. So both of you wearing earphones then.
Yep, both of us are wearing earphones. So we
Oh,
don't.
what a weird situation. I mean, what a that's gonna be interesting, to find yourself in the middle of something like that. Two people with earphones can't hear each other and singing their lungs out. All right, that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I don't find myself in that situation.
Yeah, maybe it will be way awkward if you're the third person there. But then if you're like one of the
Yeah,
person listening to the music, yeah, it's very nice.
exactly. Yeah, okay, so I can't.
It's like freaking concert going on.
I've never tried it, so I can't tell. But going by what you're saying, it seems fun. As long as you're not the
Actually,
third
right,
person, of course.
talking about concert, right? I'm pretty sure you heard about the Travis Scott incident, right? The concert that he held and many people passed
Eight
away.
people died, and he
Yes.
kept doing it.
Yeah. What do
I
you
heard
think
of it.
about it
So
actually?
unfortunate. Well, I didn't read up that much on it, but well, I mean, if it was obvious people were dying, then he definitely should have stopped. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, he did pay for the funeral costs of all of his victims, which is a good gesture, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know. He came under fire for that. People said he didn't go far enough in terms of what he did to offer his sympathies. What do you think of it?
Actually, yeah, if you saw in TikTok or any Insta reels, right, many people compare him with other artists who actually
Mm-hmm.
stopped the concert like in halfway, even when they saw like a person passed out or any other similar cases like that, right? So when they compared that case to Travis Scott, yeah, it just made him look like a very bad person. I mean, it is a very bad thing to do, to just go on with the concert when you see people are literally passing out in front of you, stepping each other. And it's something that very unfortunate to see in your own concert, right?
Right. Yeah. Very true. I wonder how it happened in the first place, though.
I think it's because it was way too crowded. if I'm not mistaken, if I'm getting my facts right.
So they were essentially stamped to death.
Yeah, most of them.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. When you see chaos like that, I think it seems quite obvious, right? That something's gone wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. It's been how many weeks now? A few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, 3 weeks ago. And as of November 14, 10 people are dead.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so the death toll didn't stop at 8. So
Mm-hmm.
last I heard it was 8 people. Right. Well, interesting. Well, anyway, back to the topic. You said that you're a tone deaf guy, and so because of
Mm-hmm.
that, you took electrical guitar out of
I mean,
out
I
of your
technically took
potential.
the music out of my life, not to be honest.
Right. Okay. So when was this?
Okay, back when I was in primary school,
All right.
when
Okay.
all of our classes need to prepare for Independence Day songs, like
Fine.
those
Fine. Fair
times.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So when I was
Good old times.
presenting, not really good, but yeah, it's old times.
I'm
Bad
being
old times, if you
sarcastic.
ask me. Yeah. So when the teacher asked our class to present in front of everyone, we chose this song that I thought was the easiest. Tanggal 31, if you know. That's like
Yeah.
one of the classic Malaysian
Classic.
independence song, right?
Classic. Yes. Classic patriotic song.
Yeah, and it's short also, so it was a good option. So when I finished it, I realized that I was the only one that memorized the whole song in my class. So I thought in my side I should be receiving compliments. But I realized that my teachers were complaining that I'm actually reading the song and not singing it. And it was like some kind of trauma since then. Then I already stopped.
Uh-huh.
Then I'm very insecure.
Interesting. Wow.
And
Okay.
even here,
Sounds
right,
like a trauma story.
even here, so like in Korea, karaoke is like a big thing. Like people, you can simply go to norebang. It's like song room if I directly translate, but it's like a karaoke place. You just go inside and sing,
Right.
right? Yeah.
I think
I've never tried.
yeah, it's quite into Korean culture, isn't it? Like having karaoke.
So
Yeah.
in Korea, right, there's this culture where when you go out to eat, after the first meal, you'll go out for icha. Icha means second round, where you go and do stuff
Right.
like this. You can go for dessert, or you can just go
Uh-huh.
for norebang, as I said just now, and go and sing songs or do sports or stuff like that. And me on the other side, never been to this karaoke room because I know that my voice is absolute shit. Maybe you should cut out that part.
So, but I mean, you haven't gone there just to listen, though.
Yep, not really.
No. Okay. So you haven't been there to even listen, like how people sing.
Nope.
Okay. Well, that is interesting. Well, it must have been a very traumatic experience for you down back when you were in primary.
Yeah, and I feel bad for my friends also because they always invite me to go there, but then I'll always reject.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, things happen, right? So, but I mean, yeah, I was curious. I wanted to know how well they sing. That's why I asked. But anyway, so it seemed like you sort of warmed up to the idea of learning a musical instrument again when you were in late secondary school.
Yeah.
Which is why the idea of us jamming together sort of worked, right? I've got two guitars back at home. Well, so let's talk about music for a second. Have you heard of music theory before?
Music theory? No,
Yeah.
never heard of it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Music theory is essentially what you see when people play violin or piano. They read from a book. If you take time to memorize, what I've just uttered out, sounds like magic spells, right? you can really master it in what, 30 minutes. That's all it takes. It's not much, but you need to be focused in what you're doing, and you must be determined to learn it. I remember, in music class back in standard 4, standard 5, maybe even earlier than that, the government's initiative, they decided to put in musical classes where you learn a little bit on this theory stuff. I remember not knowing what it was, just it being boring for the most part, because when you're that age, what you want to do is actually play the instrument rather than learning theory. So yeah, if anyone's listening, that's what you should do, and introduce the theory later on.
I remember some of the notes. I mean, like what you said just now.
Right, yeah, but it's all like way like at the back of your brain, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like you're
Like a far
rekindling
cry.
those memories.
Yeah.
And then they let us to play this recorder, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So essentially, you can use notes on basically all instruments. So notes is
Mm-hmm.
like it's like the language of musical instruments. You can use it on any instrument as long as you know where the corresponding note is on the instrument that you're playing. So
Mm-hmm.
as long as you figure that out, then it's fine. So for example, for guitar, you can play guitar using notes, or you can play guitar using tabs. So now tablature is it's another way of putting on information from a paper and translating it into proper musical melody. So it's
Mm-hmm.
another way. So instead of having symbols like the crochet, symbols like semi-brief.
While you're talking about it, I was looking at some musical symbols, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The notes
Sure.
should start with treble clef, right?
Well, there are a few different clefs actually. So treble
Mm-hmm.
clef is what you use typically for violin.
Uh-huh.
So how it works is depending on the clef that you use. So there is treble clef, there's bass clef, there are another few that I can't recall at the moment from the top of my head. But depending on what clef it is that you use, the bottom line and all the other corresponding lines have different alphabets to it. So let's say you take the treble clef, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is going to be an E. All right. So the bottom line is going to be an E, and then as you go up, it's going to be G, and then it's going to be B, and then the fourth line will be D, and then the last line will be F. So if you, for example, take a bass clef, then the bottommost line now becomes I'm not very sure. I think it's an A, but I might be wrong. I just learned this, so I haven't really taken the time to memorize it. But anyway, so depending on what sort of clef you use, it's sort of like
Changes
the
the
names
order,
change from exactly. Yeah, you're still going down the alphabet line from A all the way to G, seven letters. That's all, and then they just keep repeating themselves. However, when they repeat themselves, they sound different because while they are the same notes and they sound the same, they are just at higher pitches, right?
Okay.
So that's how it essentially works. So music theory has actually got quite a bad rep among people for being difficult. And the reason why it's difficult is because, like I said just now, bass clef, I couldn't recall what the first string was because it needs memorization. And so memorizing things is something that is rather daunting to a lot of people. They just don't like to spend the time to actually sit down and memorize something.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
then
know why.
I think that's the beauty that comes with it too. I mean, you are willing to give the time to learn it, then only you become better at it, right?
Exactly, very true. But then that's the reason why the stigma is there. Now, apart from that, you've also got beats, right? So beats is essentially how long you're gonna play each note. And so let me give you an example. The semi-brief lasts for 4 beats. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then below the semi-brief, you've got half of a semi-brief, which is otherwise known as a minim. So a minim is 2 beats, 1, 2. So now there's a little bit of maths involved if you think about it, in the sense that below the minim is the crotchet, right? And so a typical question that could come up in a musical theory exam would be how many crotchets make up a semi-brief? So now you've got to do a bit of dividing, and so that's yeah, exactly. So now you've got memorization and maths, which basically boils down to education.
The two
which is
combo that
why
we don't want in anything.
exactly. So which is why you can now, I think, appreciate why it's got such a bad rep. You understand that now, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking at this meme sometime back. So on the first picture is of this nice music teacher. She looks a bit like Bob Ross. Very nice smile on her face. And she goes, "Come on, guys, it's easy. It's not rocket science." And so she's referring to music theory, right? And then the picture right below that is a bunch of rocket scientists with a professor in front. And he's
It's
saying,
not music
come on,
theory.
it's not music theory.
My
And
God.
so yeah, so people have got proper fears of music theory, and it's got quite a bad rep because of the two factors I mentioned just now.
Mm-hmm.
And so even now, like, I'm sitting here uncomfortably thinking, well, what's the first line just now for basscraft, because I really can't remember. So the
Yeah.
first thing I'm going to do after ending this call with you is I'm going to actually go down and check to see if it was an A or not.
Okay, so let's recap a bit. You said that you have 2 guitars right now, right? Was there
Yes,
any
correct.
reason for you to purchase 2, or it just suddenly happened?
Well, no, okay. So I had one guitar. So yeah, so let's talk about guitars for a second. So
Mm-hmm.
um, when you're talking about picking up a guitar, well, I mentioned that you can get it for the most budget friendly price. Comparing it to all other
Other
instruments,
instruments, yeah.
drums and pianos. Guitars by far come the cheapest. However, when you talk about uh, when I say cheapest, that is in relative terms, in the sense that you've got guitars that cost maybe 90 ringgit, which is basically a day's worth of working for some people, all the way to 4,000, 10,000 ringgit, which could be the price of a decent piano or a laptop. But then those are extremely high end guitars. And so I started off with one of those cheap guitars. Now the problem with cheap guitars, the ones that are around 100 ringgit or so, is, first of all, it uses wood that has been laminated and then stuck together. And so it's not just a piece of wood that's been cut, rather it's been tampered with, and you've got a lot of chemicals, and so the wood from it doesn't really age well. And so over time you don't get the sound that you want. And not only that, even when you buy it brand new, you don't get
The
to
crisp
appreciate
of the sound is
the crispness or the depth of the sound that a proper guitar will bring you. So it sounds very plasticky, and normally when you're looking at prices like this, you would find guitars that come in all sorts of colors, pink, blue, uh, all these funky colors, maybe bright yellow. So at the moment you see colors like this that aren't natural wood, and you're looking at a price that's around 100, 200, 300 ringgit, or maybe slightly less than 100 ringgit, you should immediately know that something is wrong.
Mhm.
And so not only do you have a problem with getting you're basically being deprived of the appreciation of proper depth when it comes to the actual amplification that a proper guitar can produce. Not only that, these guitars typically come with very high action strings. So what that means is the distance between the string and the fretboard of the guitar, which is on the neck, is very high. And so what ends up happening most of the time is a kid tries to pick up one of these instruments, and sees looks like a reasonably good deal, right? 100 ringgit, 200 ringgit. That doesn't cost much, and then they try to play a chord, and then it's really painful because the distance is just too wide, and the tension of the guitar strings, needless to say, is really it's got a lot of tension to it when you tune it up properly, and so pressing down on the strings to press a note, or maybe even form a chord, it takes real effort to do it. And for guitars with high actions, if you start playing with rusted strings, which is an inevitable thing that happens with guitars over time, strings rust because strings are made of steel, right?
Uh-huh.
You can end up cutting yourself. In fact, you can end up cutting your fingers, and so it's unbelievably painful when you play on a guitar with high action, or on a cheap guitar especially, and so you end up being very frustrated and demotivated. By the time you finish pressing on a chord, all it takes is maybe 10 seconds, and the moment you lift up your fingers, you see like very deep thin marks on your hand. And so for people who persevere, which is not most people, they end up building hardened tissue on the tip of their fingers. So what they call this what they call these guitar finger calluses.
Oh yeah.
So now calluses, when you develop calluses, they allow you to press on guitar strings without you feeling that pain anymore. And so this comes over time. How long? Well, it's not that long if you think about it. It's about a month.
But is that a good
it's
thing?
Still, yes, it's a good thing because then it doesn't matter, because different guitars come with different action settings, and so you can't always hope for the lowest action possible. Depends on the guitar, and it depends whether that guitar has been set up properly or not. So when you have calluses, of course, it's very helpful in the sense that it doesn't matter what sort of guitar you pick up after that, you're not really going to be bothered by it because it doesn't hurt your fingers anyway. But then while it's 1 month, it is incredibly frustrating for a beginner who's actually looking to just learn a song that he was listening on the radio, and just wants to just try jamming as soon as possible, and then you come up with all these problems. It's extremely frustrating. So that is why my first guitar was actually that, and I stopped learning maybe. I started picking it up actually at around the age of 8, and I left it there.
So young.
Shortly after. Yeah, I left it shortly after because of this problem here. You've got to memorize the chords, and then pressing the chords is another thing, and then you've got to be consistent. If you're not consistent, then the calluses fail to develop.
Yep.
And so I never developed calluses around that age. So what happened was, sometime later, my auntie gave me another guitar, and now this guitar, I actually decided to spend the time and watched a couple of YouTube videos, and before you knew it, I was there. However, there was this time a sense of determination on my part, which a lot of people don't have. And so later on, that guitar, someone stepped on it. So thankfully, it was a cheap guitar. And so by that time, it was time to buy a proper guitar. So now this proper guitar that I bought, as it turned out, wasn't a proper guitar. It didn't have it because I went out, looked at a bunch of guitars, saw it, and I thought, okay, look, well, this looks fine. It costs 400 ringgit. I thought that was it. That's all that there is to buying a guitar. And then I happened to come across a music teacher who knew what he was talking about, and then only I realized. It was then that I realized that what I bought was essentially the same thing as the older guitar, just had a better setup and maybe slightly higher quality wood, but that didn't change anything in the sense that at the end of the day, that wood is still going to wear up. It just had slightly better tone. That's all.
Yeah, it's better, but still not the good one that you can buy, is it?
Exactly. And so, but it was reasonable enough. So I was with that guitar for a long time, and then eventually I said, look, it's time to upgrade. I know for certain that guitar is something that I like to do. I like to play it because it sounds good. I use it as a form of stress release, in between study breaks and during study breaks and whatnot. So I said, okay, now it's time to buy a real guitar. So because I tried out a real guitar, and and the first thing that immediately pops out to you is how easily you can play chords and how nice it sounds. There is a big difference that you can notice immediately, especially if you've been playing cheap guitars for a long time. And so when the time came, well, what happened was my guitar finally wore out, and it was sort of time to change it. I couldn't play it, and so my cousins were aware of the fact that that guitar was gone. And I've been telling my cousins that hey, that I'll be getting a guitar sooner or later. However, every time I met them, I didn't get the guitar yet, and so just around my birthday, my mom bought me the guitar that I wanted. And it so happened to be that same birthday, my cousins decided to buy me a guitar as well, because they knew I played the guitar, and I've been saying that it's coming, but it didn't come yet, so they thought, okay, might as well. And they didn't know that my mom got it already. So that's how I ended up with 2 guitars.
Not gonna lie, before I asked the question, I never thought it would be this interesting, but now I'm super intrigued already.
Well, yeah, that's how it is. So yeah, I told you it's going to be a good topic. but 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 yeah, I ended up with two guitars. A very happy boy. I remember because it was taking time to get the first guitar. I remember being very miserable about it. Uh,
Mhm.
and so I was absolutely overjoyed getting the first guitar, and then getting the second
Another
guitar
one.
was, yeah. I mean, I basically couldn't believe it. It was something out of this world. But as it turned out, getting the second guitar was actually a big blessing, because the first guitar that I got it from. I got it at a discounted price, and so what that meant was they essentially gave me the guitar straight out of the box, which meant that it wasn't set up. So essentially, when you get a guitar, as long as you're not at the higher end price of the guitar, like when I say higher end, I mean like really expensive, like maybe 2,000, or maybe the higher end of 1,000 ringgit, maybe 1,005 and above. The
Mhm.
guitar is not going to come set up
Okay, so
out of the
for
box.
global listeners, right? 1,000 Malaysian ringgit is about 240 US dollar, if you're wondering. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're looking at it from a different currency, then
Mm-hmm.
getting a good guitar isn't really something that you should think twice about. You should go
Yeah.
for it, because
And we are still
in
students and we are
whatever.
not really earning any kind of money also.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
right.
really a big
That's
thing
right.
when we can buy those kind of guitars.
Yeah. So if you're with a stronger currency, one that's stronger than Malaysian currency, then you should really invest maybe $300, or its equivalent. If you can afford it, because then it's really worth it.
Yes.
However, with my guitar that came, the one that mom gifted me, it didn't come out of the box setup. So that meant that you actually need to send your guitar to a luthier. So now, what a luthier does is he works with stringed instruments, so guitars, violin, cellos, violas, all stringed instruments that you can think of. It's the person who deals with these stringed instruments is called a luthier. And so the reason why you send your guitar to a luthier is so that you can get it properly set up. And so what setup includes is they adjust the action height, so the distance between the strings and the fretboard. They do things to further shorten that distance to make your playing experience much more enjoyable. So they adjust the bending of the neck of your guitar. They do all sorts of things to make sure that your guitar is in tip top position for you to play. So that guitar didn't come set up. However, the guitar that my cousins gave me, that came set up. And so immediately I could tell a difference. There was a better tone, higher depth. However, it was harder to play the new guitar that I got. The guitar that my cousins gave, on the other hand, well, that played like a gem and was so easy to play. And so I found myself playing that guitar way more. Now that isn't the case, however. Now I've got both guitars nicely set up. So that's why I ended up with two guitars, and looking back, it was an absolute blessing.
Yeah, I think even listening to the story from you also makes me really excited. If this makes me to imagine how would I feel if I was in your shoes.
Yeah, true. So I mean, what after listening to what I've had to say, and listening to songs nowadays, that acoustic guitar in songs are getting much less and less. You've got Ed Sheeran, you've got Passenger, but apart from that, you don't really hear that much of acoustic guitar in the current being the current trend when it comes to the musical industry. It's getting more and more electronic.
Yep, that's true.
So given that this is a fading art, but what do you think of picking it up? Are you looking forward anytime soon?
I mean, if I
Or
can,
maybe when you come down to Malaysia?
I actually thought of doing it, but yeah, of course, I need to see whether I have the time for it or not, because in my to-do list, it's not the first thing, right? So it's something that I would consider in the near future, I can say, but not something that I'm planning to do very soon. It will be coming, but not yet. At least I won't be tone deaf anymore. So Karen, some of the questions that I wanted to ask you before we end this episode, right? Since you already know how to
Sure.
play the acoustic guitar, is there other instruments that you like to pick on later in the future?
Other instruments. Well, in university you get you've got music clubs, and so what they do is they emphasize on learning theory, the theoretical aspect of music. And so that's what I've enrolled myself in. And so eventually, hopefully, I can sort of pick up the violin, but I'm not sure if that is the case, because generally you really want to get, a private tutor and to give you a formal education when it comes to these sort of things. I'm not sure how effectively you can learn when it comes to, picking up, a short course in university and from school and stuff like that. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be, but well, time will tell. But yeah, I'm really interested in learning the violin and the piano. However, in my opinion, those two things are best learned when you are young. For people like us, I think our best option would probably be the guitar, because it's much easier to master. You can pick it up, without a formal education rather easily, and sort of learn the basics and sing your favorite tunes in a matter of weeks. In fact, if you're really dedicated.
And also nowadays, I think you've been seeing this trend where people are using drum pad, which is like,
Yeah.
I don't know. All I can see is just RGB, and it intrigues me a lot.
Well, yeah. Drums are your second option. In fact, some would put drums above the guitar. For people like us, our age, 20, 21, 19, trying to pick up, just any musical instrument that happens to be easy to play. Drums are somewhere high up the list. You can pick up drums also quite easily from my
And then
experience.
you don't really need to buy the actual drums also, because nowadays you have drum pads like this, so you can just simply tap on it if you want.
Very true, very true. So I
Yeah.
mean, if you're looking for something just to let off some steam, I think getting one of those random drum pads, it's not a very bad idea. Especially, I imagine the technology nowadays for drum pads have become quite complex, so you can have quite a good time with lots of different sounds coming out of it.
That's true as well. I think today we've covered a lot. Not gonna lie, I've really get to learn a lot of new information.
Yeah, well, I hope I've been of help. Yeah, because I was just looking to rant about something, banter on something that would last some time. So I don't know. I hope it's been interesting for you. I hope I didn't talk too much as well.
Yeah, it was really nice, not gonna lie. And I hope that in future you can buy the Yamaha piano, so I can just come and take a picture of it, because
Yamaha piano.
whenever I go and Google about it, my God, it's so beautiful.
Which one though? Like the electrical piano, or like the proper wood piano?
The wood piano.
Right. Oh yeah.
Come on,
I don't know if
my
I've got
God.
place to put it here. Who knows if I've got place to put it here? I don't think I can fit it anywhere here. but yeah. Maybe we'll sell your laptop and get one somewhere down the line. Well, we've had an interesting conversation, haven't we?
Yep, that was really nice. And actually, talking about music, right? I'm actually quite speechless, because it's an hobby that I wanted to learn way back. Like, as I said, during secondary school, right? But now to think of it, it seems impossible. Even though you've already said that guitar is one of the easiest instrument out there to be learned, right? I don't know, it just feels impossible to pick it up right now.
Well, don't give up hope, because I know people, people above the age of 50 and 60 who picked it up, in a matter of weeks. So it really isn't a problem, especially when you're, when you're on sem break, maybe 1-2 months, right? If as long as you're dedicated, I think it's no problem at all. Especially now that you've got, YouTube, you've got masterclass, all sorts of different subscription services that you can subscribe to, or even free for that matter. For example, YouTube, like I said.
And I have one last question before we end.
Go for it.
What is your goal while you're learning guitar? I mean, what is your purpose of you learning guitar?
Oh, at the moment, I think it's just for me to enjoy, and for other people who are listening. I think I've reached a stage where, even though I don't have any professional certification or any formal certification, I think I play rather well, and people actually do enjoy me playing. And so that, for me, that is enough. As long as I get a kick out of it, I get to flex on and off to some people. get the rare compliment here and there, and that's more than enough for me. It's not going to be a career, definitely not, but it's satisfying enough for me.
I mean, for me, coming from a person that don't really know much about music, I've heard Karan playing once, and it was really beautiful. So with that, I would like to end our podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. We are Youth Unhinged, and goodbye.
See you next episode.